Celtic Myths and Legends by T.W. Rolleston. Chapter 6. Tales of the Ossianic Cycle. The Broken Spell. The white steed had vanished from their eyes like a wreath of mist. And spiritual and psychic visions happen like that. And it explains why the UFOs disappear so quickly, doesn't it? If, the people who talk about them. But when he came near to the eastern sea and was now in the place which is called the Valley of the Thrushes, Glenismole, near Dublin, he saw a field upon the hillside, a crowd of men striving to roll aside a great boulder from their tilled land, and an overseer directing them. Towards them he rode, meaning to ask them concerning Finn and Fianna. And the Fianna. As he came near, they all stopped their work to gaze upon him, for to them he appeared like a messenger of the fairy folk, or an angel from heaven. Taller and mightier he was than the menfolk they knew, with sword-blue eyes and brown ruddy cheeks. In his mouth, as it were, a shower of pearls, and bright hair clustered beneath the rim of his helmet. And as Ossian looked upon their puny forms, marred by toil and care, and at the stone which they feebly strove to heave from its bed, he was filled with pity, and thought to himself, not such were even the churls of Erin when I left them for the land of youth. And he stooped from his saddle to help them, and he set his hand to the boulder, and with a mighty heave he lifted it from where it lay, and set it rolling down the hill. And thus the men raised a shout of wonder and applause. But their shouting changed in a moment into cries of terror and dismay, and they fled, jostling and overthrowing each other to escape from the place of fear. For a marvel horrible to see had taken place. For Ossian's saddle girth had burst as he heaved the stone, and he fell headlong to the ground. In an instant the white steed had vanished from their eyes like a wreath of mist, and that which rose, feeble and staggering, from the ground was no youthful warrior, but a man stricken with extreme old age, white-bearded and withered, and who stretched out groping hands, and moaned with feeble and bitter cries. And his crimson cloak and yellow silken tunic were now but coarse, homespun stuff, tied with a hempen girdle, and the gold-hilted sword was a rough oaken staff, such as a beggar carries who wanders the roads from farmer's house to house. Patrick bade his scribes write all carefully down. When the people saw that the doom that had been wrought was not for them, they returned and found the old man prone on the ground, with his face hidden in his arms. So they lifted him up and asked who he was and what had befallen him. Ossian gazed round on them with dim eyes, and at last he said, I was Ossian, the son of Finn, and I pray ye tell me where he dwells, for his dune on the hill of Allen is now a desolation, and I have neither seen him nor heard his hunting horn from the western to the eastern sea. Then the men gazed strangely on each other, and on Ossian, and the overseer asked, Of what Finn dost thou speak? For there be many of that name in Erin. Ossian said, Surely a Finn mac Cool mac Tenmore captain of the Fianna of Erin. Then the overseer said, Thou art daft, old man, and thou hast made us daft to take thee for a youth, as we did a while agone. But we, at least, have now our wits again, and we know that Finn, son of Cúl, and all his generation have been dead these 300 years. At the battle of Gowra fell Oscar, son of Uiscin, and Finn at the battle of Brea, as the historians tell us. And the lays of Uiscin, whose death no man knows, nor the manner of, are sung by our harpers at great men's feast. But now the Tolkien Patrick has come to Ireland and preached to us the one God and Christ, his Son, by who might these old days and ways are done away with, and Finn and his Fianna with their feasting and hunting and songs of war and love have no such reverence among us as monks and virgins of Holy Patrick, and the psalms and prayers that go up daily to cleanse us from sin and to save us from the fire of judgment. But Uiscin replied, only half hearing, and still less comprehending what was said to him. If thy God have slain Finn and Oscar, I would say that God is a strong man. Then they all cried out upon him, and some picked up stones, but the overseer bade them, let him be until the Tolkien had spoken with him, until he should order what was to be done. And so a Tolkien, or Ad's head, was a name given to St. Patrick by the Irish. Probably it referred to the shape of his tonsure. And monotheism, polytheism, things were known. And obviously they didn't believe in him as Christ, because they would have known that he wasn't a god if they called him a Christ, speaking Greek. But doctrines lead people to use words in different ways, and Christ means something different here. The anointed, the high priest. But the type of mythology that Christians brought, it wasn't like it was unknown types. It was just different names. But the ancient alien theorist, I don't really consider them theorists, but they would say, oh, well, he came in a flash, and then in another flash he was old. It's like, because the aliens took him across the universe and back, and it was... But that's kind of the opposite, is that it was a flash to him, but other way around. But there are mystical experiences that time is constricted or dilated in terms of the physical time.